Hey guys, EST here, and it's the new year, although based on my statistics, probably not when you're watching this video, but you know what? It is. And maybe your new year, mid-year, or anytime resolution is to get your prepper situation totally squared away. Just upgrade it, keep on moving. Well, let me just remind you that skills are free, and so is subscribing to this channel. Those two go hand in hand. But today's topic is a little bit on gear again, and you know I am the king of keeping it cheap, cause ya boy don't got money. So let's say you got your bug out bag. If you don't, you can check out mine. It's a little bulky, a little big. It's kind of halfway between, oh, I'm gonna go run through the woods, and oh, I'm gonna throw it in my car. And that's really not where you want to be, but I can lift and carry a pretty good amount for a pretty good distance, and then I've got some other issues that would keep me from going a long distance anyway. So for me, it works. And let me just throw that tip out there. Make sure your bug out bag suits you, your body type, your health level, your age, your energy, your everything. What you specifically need in it, what is in your climate, and most importantly, where you're going. But the general guideline is obviously like body carryable, not like, suitcase single arm carryable, like a giant duffel bag like mine. Although mine does mount on the back with double straps. And generally, I believe people say under 15 to 18 pounds. Once again, that comes down to you. But no matter how big and strong and athletic you think you are, even like 20 to 25 pounds, you're going to be feeling it. It's going to be, chafing your shoulders and stuff. So yeah, that doesn't leave much, especially when you start adding in food or any kind of cookware. I mean, fire starting, that's like nothing. A ferro rod, you should have a knife anyway, and some cotton balls in petroleum jelly. And if you haven't heard of that, well, then you should probably watch the rest of my videos. But also, obviously, have a lighter or two. No sense making things harder than you have to. But once you've got that squared away, people think, okay, I'm set. I can leave with this and I'm good. Well, for what period of time? I think I've also heard thrown around, and there's all kinds of information in the prepper world that's not entirely true, but this one I kind of agree with. A bug out bag should be 72 hours. So the two things that I really want to point out is, what about longer than 2 hours? And why would you not have a second, larger, heavier bag, like a full-size duffel bag, where if you have 30 extra seconds, you can grab that too? I really haven't heard people mention that, and that's why I'm making this video, because, wow, people need to know. So if you were to do I've got an extra minute and I'm leaving in the car and don't care about carry weight bag, what should be in it? And as I said before, you're targeting after 72 hours, longer than that, in case you're not coming back for maybe 30 days. So number one, obviously, food and water. You could just put a couple packs of thoroughly sealed water, some kind of long shelf life water, or just, when you're doing your annual rounds, doing everything, like check the fire alarms, the batteries, check the batteries in your gun safe, or whatever you put on your, for me, it's Christmas, is why I remembered this, your annual, I'm going to do this list, just add to it. And it does help if it's an actual list, not just in your head. But add to it, swap out the bottles of water in my bug out bag. And make sure it's not the thin, crappy one. Like, get like a big thing of, big, thick plastic, 1 gallon water. Yeah, it's 8 pounds. Yeah, you could probably just filter it. But like, this is so much easier than finding unpolluted water, especially if you're running away from a flood or a hurricane-induced flood. Because then you could have all the water filtering in the world, and unless it's evaporative, and even then, or I guess reverse osmosis, but generally the type that you would have are not going to filter out dissolved nastiness, like pesticides, oil, gasoline, fertilizers that were in people's garage. I mean, floods are nasty. Water everywhere, but you ain't drinking any of it. And once again, water filters aren't magic. But also you could throw in a bigger water filter or just more of them. I would throw in a little bit of like better, heavier cookware, maybe some cast iron. I mean, a cast iron pan could be 10 plus pounds easy. Now we're talking like you don't want a 100-pound duffel bag where now you got to leave your car and then it's like, oh, what do I keep? What do I do? I like ultra thin aluminum, but you can get like kind of in the middle, like ultra thick aluminum. It's pretty light. I forgot the brand, but this is one brand where it's like a 1/4 inch thick or, right around, 1.5 centimeters, something like that. The stuff's nuts, but it's still aluminum. No anti-stick at all. It's like the aluminum version of cast iron. I love it. More indestructible than cast iron and more useful. There's a hot take for you. So I would have just more and better cookware and some basic, like just like a plastic spatula or whatever, metal. I mean, well, there's reasons to have both. And then, you could even eat with it too. You could use it as an improvised spoon. So just like some basic whatever, throw a, plastic spoon in there too or something, just something to like make eating easier and quicker. This isn't about surviving at all and you've got all the time in the world. This is about, well, maybe I don't want to take 2 hours to build a fire and cook something. Maybe I can throw an item or two in here that would do it in, a lot less time. So another thing is the canned meats, the Spam and similar products. They have a shelf life of basically forever. They're sealed in the can. The can's pretty darn thick. It's either brass plated or anodized aluminum. I'm not even sure which, but they're pretty tough if they're not dented. And they heat them up in the can, I do believe, and that pasteurizes them to the point where, especially if it was under pressure, there's nothing in there, including botulism, that'll get you. And the botulinum toxin will go away if you boil it for, I want to say, 8 minutes. And then open air cooking, you're probably going to get above boiling temperature anyway, and who boils their Spam? So I would throw a couple in there. They tend to be flirting with around 1,000 calories each. So it's not too much, but it's a little bit of protein, good oil. It'll keep you going, get your keto going. But then I would also throw in carbs. I would probably put 2 to 3 to 4 bags of rice, oatmeal, and or noodles. Rice, you're going to get, the highest, I want to say calories per volume, and then the highest calorie per weight, depending upon which one you're short on, is oatmeal. They both require water and heat, but, it is what it is. And 1 little quart Mylar bag, which is, I think, right around, I don't know, I do it in grams because it's easier, sorry. I assure you I'm American, but for this particular thing, it was easier. Fractional imperial for cooking is easier, though. But it's right around 5,000 calories per quart, and you can seal it in Mylar. I've got the whole 1-hour documentary on how to do it. If people show a 5-minute video, trust me, if you watch mine, you will be absolutely mind blown about all the stuff that you didn't know about this very simple process, like why you're doing what you're doing and how not to screw it up. So go check that out. It's one of my most popular videos, actually, how to just take, dry goods, pack them in Mylar, and make your own food kit. But I will say 80 pounds if you can do it, which that's, boy, you're going to hurt your back, getting that up the stairs or out the door, lifting it in the car, maybe, if you're in a rush and not lifting properly. Or it's the middle of the night and you're tired or something. But that pack, I did the math because that's about what my storage in the basement was, are just short of 100,000 calories. And I threw some salt and some sugar and some soy sauce and, some utensils, some burners, little isopropyl and methanol burners, aka buffet warmers, aka chafers. So there's a little bit of other stuff, but yeah, it's approaching right around 100,000 calories, which, divide that by 2K a day. Generally 1,500 for the average smaller woman, 2,500 for a larger guy. So 2,000 average, but also 2,000 applies to almost nobody, which is kind of funny that people measure it that way. But, do I think a car full of 50 days worth of food is a little much? Yeah, I do. But it's also really nice to have. No such thing as overkill when people are starving after a couple days. Remember, I mentioned before, the bug out bag is 72 hours and then you get somewhere or you come back. If you're bringing this bag, it's probably because, you're coming back, but you got time. Because unless you need the space in your vehicle, why not? But this would be really nice if you're not coming back, and if it doesn't quite go as planned, or if you got to leave for an extended period of time because of something really serious. Now, if it's a total collapse situation, is like end of the world thing, which is, moderately unlikely, but who knows? We're preparing for things that we don't think will happen, just in case they happen, in case we're not on the same page there. I mean, that is why you're watching this podcast, right? So having, 50 days for one person worth of food, holy cow, but I would throw in, it's about 5,300 calories per quart of dry rice. Yeah, I'd throw a couple in there. That's several days worth. You can even put, some kind of energy/protein/meal replacement bars, because they are in Mylar, they are sealed, but they're not heat sealed. They're not, you want to kind of stick to the best buyer expiration date on those. You can go past a bit, obviously. It's not the safest thing in the world, especially ones made with chocolate and sugar and no preservatives. So there are some things in there that could get scary bad, including the protein itself. It's not packed for long shelf life, but if you get them with, as high frequency replacement on the shelf as possible is, I guess, how I would put it. You're going to get a decent expiration date, and then you can just, when they're coming up to being expired, swap them out, go to the gym, lift some weights, and then eat them. It's not like you're not going to use them. They're tasty. So that's the food situation. Obviously water. And then on the water, I would also bring like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gallon empty container. It's probably not going to fit in like a bag because it's pretty big. The collapsible ones are really nice. You definitely want to rinse them out once, though, because you're going to get this nasty from the factory plasticky nonsense. I don't know what it is, but you probably shouldn't be drinking it. Last thing you want to do is fill it up with filtered water and then have to run through the filter again because you didn't, test it out / wash it out first. So do that. But I have one and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's a gallon, 8 pounds. It doesn't look the sturdiest, but there weren't any leaks. Okay, it's got a spout. I'm sure that I got it from a camping store. So I think they meant for it to be pretty heavily used multiple times without it leaking, or they'd get a really bad reputation. Just some random, emergency supplies from some Chinese vendor. I don't know if I would trust that. But I do have the hard side ones that are for camping too. They're like UV resistant, like 10-year usable life, really tough, thick plastic. I mean, you tap on it, you get that hard thump of like thick, crazy plastic. Empty, that thing weighs a couple ounces. It's nothing, but it's a ton of space. So I would have one, but not necessarily put it in the Bug Out Plus bag, is I guess what I would call this. The supplemental bag, whatever you prefer. So basic hand tools. That's another thing, because you're probably not putting a full folding wood saw in your pack unless you really like live in the woods and you're like, man, we got to get some firewood high up. We got to get some, wood that's not on the ground in case it's snow or rain. Got to get that fire going. But as far as like screwdrivers and pliers and stuff, I mean, I put like a multi-tool in just in case, because multi-tools are just nice. But that doesn't weigh much, and then it's like, well, should that be in your bug out bag? So I would come down to, if it's not, put it in this one. The other thing is, this wasn't in my bug out bag video, but it was a thrift store haul, I believe it was. And I went to one of those places where you like pay by the pound or by the bucket or whatever. And I got a cast aluminum bottle with like a screw top that's like an inch thick. And this thing, you could run it over with a car, it wouldn't even bend. And it is designed to hold lantern/camping fuel. So some kind of like kerosene or hexane mix or something. I don't even know what kind of hydrocarbon fuel is in there, but that thing is not opening. With a liquid in it, I don't care what it is, it's going to be heavy, it's stupid, and then if you want to use it to carry water, which you could, well, then you got fuel in it. So I was thinking, hey, just water, but then I thought, wait, why don't I just put some hexane, which is a lighter fluid, for a grill, or gasoline, why not? Or even isopropyl alcohol, a little bit lower burn temperature, but then you can disinfect stuff. So I would get one of those. You can actually just get them at Walmart. They're kind of expensive. They're like a big red thermos looking thing, and they're usually right around the camping fuels. Last I saw, I think they're like $12. But man, you throw one empty and one full of a hydrocarbon fuel, or like one full of gasoline, one full of hexane or alcohol, man, you're going to be set with just lighting a fire in seconds. I mean, it's going to take longer to light the fire than it will to go gather the wood. That's really the long part, and arranging it so that it burns properly and you have all the stuff to pile on it. That's the hard part. If you got a lighter, usually lighting it is really quick, but if you need an accelerant to get it really big really quick, because getting it to, really get up there usually takes 5-10 minutes if you don't have absolutely ideal fuel, like as far as wood. But man, you put a splash of any kind of accelerant on there, you are off to the races if you built it correctly. You still can't use it to light overly thick stuff, because it'll get hot, it'll have no embers, and it'll just go out because nothing's under it. So you still need the small stuff, the mid sticks, to really get like the original embers going and some coals under it. So that's fire starting. I wouldn't throw like pieces of wood necessarily. I mean, you could put like wood shavings or some kind of flammable fire starting whatever, but I mean, cotton balls and petroleum jelly, you're really not going to beat that. And in fact, since you've already got like a little tiny pre-made kit inside of, plastic sealed Ziploc, whatever, in your bug out bag, because it weighs nothing and takes no space, I would just separately put in like a big bag of cotton balls and an entire, preferably sealed with like electrical tape or something, duct tape or something tough, because the lid will come off. Container of petroleum jelly so that you can make your own fire starters, like a really big just burst thing of like 12 of them. So fire water, let's talk about sleep and shelter. I mean, shelter, yeah, I'd throw a tarp or two in. I mean, that's just simple. And then some zip ties, additional paracord. That's pretty simple. So heat, water, shelter. Let's talk health. I mean, if you have any medications, maybe put a year's supply. Like if it's just like allergy meds, otherwise if it's a prescription, good luck getting your hands on that. It would be incredibly expensive and wasteful if you just leave it there and don't take it because it expires. But yeah, I got actually 2 years worth of allergy pills, all sealed up nice. The shelf life on those tends to be a lot longer than the expiration date, but I would not exceed it unless it was an emergency, of course. So what else? Additional clothing, bright colors or subtle colors, earth tones, black, just mix the whole thing up. And then layers, obviously. Some thicker stuff, some thinner stuff. And then I'd throw in just about a whole bag of socks because they can get nasty. You can't wash them. If they get dirty, you're going to look at like bacterial issues. And if they get wet or damp, I guess you're sitting there not walking anywhere or walking in soaked shoes as well while you're waiting for them to dry on the fire. So yeah, you get, as we call it, a soaker. You're going to have a real bad day because it's going to start chafing and your feet are going to smell. You're going to have fungal issues going on after usually even one day. Yeah, it's going to get nasty. Now, another thing I would put in there is a battery bank. Phones are incredibly important, but battery banks are kind of heavy as well. And then a battery bank just buys you time, and the battery banks with solar on them are pretty stupid, under spec, and you got to leave a lithium battery cell sitting out in the sun. So they're just defective by design. But I had a real cheap lithium polymer one with 4,000 milliamp hours and a basic solar, and even if the battery dies, the solar will bypass it. It's not terrible, but it's about 1 to 2 watts. So you'd be waiting, I think it's 18 hours to recharge just itself. And my phone is about another 4,000 milliamp hours. So, Yeah. Not a fan, but if you throw in a battery bank, I would also throw in, I've shown it on my channel like 3 times now, that little basic 6 watt USB solar, and I've got it up to about 5, flirting with even 6 on a really sunny summer day. And then obviously some USB cables. Speaking of that, while we're on electronics and keeping your phone working, so you got GPS, you can even get like some FM radio on some of them. Depends on the specs, and you can get some near field and even if the network's still up, get within range. And obviously if you're taking your car, you could charge it on your car, but I like backups. If you got to go on foot, it would be really bad to not also have an offline GPS and just basic communication stuff on your phone. Not to mention all the educational PDFs about foraging and mushrooms and berries and stuff that I've got on my phone. But let's throw this in there, an old GPS with as many local maps loaded to it as possible. I know Garmin and a couple other companies like to give away the maps for free now if you just have their device. It used to be like all this subscription, whatever. Now they're just pushing the smartphone stuff. But if you still have one, they just want to kind of keep you as a customer, so they tend to give out the maps for free, which is really nice. And I would look for an older model with an expandable storage. Just throw a little micro SD in there where, back in the day, 16 gigs was expensive. Now you can get a 256 gig for like not much. And assuming the RAM and the processor can handle it, you can load just about the whole of America on some of those. And I've seen them at the pawn shops and at the thrift stores for $5 to $10 for a formerly $300 unit. So if the batteries aren't shot, great. Otherwise, usually you can take them out, and some of them will run just on USB power concurrently. So you could put them on an external battery pack and you're running. As soon as it's disconnected, it's dead, but it's really nice. Now, in addition to that, I would just get an offline map program. And everybody has an old phone. You replace your phone every once in a while. Don't give the trade-in offer. It's not worth it. Keep your old phone. And then keep the battery at 30 to 50%. That's usually the safe storage amount where it powers on and works, but it won't like explode or degrade, or hopefully zero out. And then if you can just like disconnect the battery if you can access it, but most can't these days. But most phones, if you turn them all the way off, unless they're a really high-end smartphone and one of those models that really spies on you even when it's off, it shouldn't degrade the battery. It should just close the circuit completely. So what do you have there? Well, another SD card, a little 64 gig or something. You get them for like $4 now, but still get a reliable brand. Get Samsung pretty much. I'll just tell you straight up, all those store brand, Lexar and what else is trash? Some SanDisk are good, some aren't. Sub class 10, anything other than class 10, that's your bare minimum. But yeah, I would just get Samsung. They make the chips. But I mean, $10 would get you 128 right now online. Come on. Load that up plus the phone's internal memory. Just plug it into your computer. Unless it's an iPhone, then just, don't use an iPhone. I would just go buy a $30 off the shelf, J7 on eBay or something. And then get real familiar with Android, and then that'll be your backup phone with all your storage documents. And then you can have, personal information, your like a full address book of everyone. You could put maps on it. You could put all kinds of stuff. I mean, you have limitless storage just about because they're so dang big these days. Slip that in the phone. Hopefully it takes micro SD if it doesn't get a different model. And then, like I said, put a redundant copy on the phone's actual memory. But I've got all kinds of informational PDFs, medical stuff, stuff I haven't just had the time to read. It's just a giant dump of stuff I got. And I'll have all the time in the world if there's a giant disaster and I'm not going to work or making YouTube videos. So, hey, what you need then is screen time. And plus your phones are also flashlights. I would also throw in a flashlight, like a really nice one. Even a flashlight taser is nice, but then they tend to suck as flashlights. I think I've shown off the flashlight I use. It's like an $8 Chinese model, but it is like bulletproof. I've bought different variations of it, different revisions. It doesn't have a brand name. It's just, the standard telescoping one with like a big round lens on the front, and it takes 18650s with a 3 AAA adapter. So I got, a couple of those in a box of 18650s just sitting around, and a lot of them are in the secondary bug out bag. Because the big thing is light, but then it also usually has a flash mode. It has SOS. You can put it in the sky, see it with fog. You can bounce it off some high trees. You can focus it to 5 degrees or something, so you can kind of signal. It's just nice. And then the big thing is if you don't have a firearm because it's illegal in your area, if you can have one, duh. And obviously pistol on your person if it's legal or if it's going to be legal because it's an emergency. Then obviously put a longer rifle, preferably a 22 LR. Preferably with subsonic rounds for emergency hunting and a little bit of self-defense, just because a pistol is loud and can only go so far. So, that's self-defense, but then if you can't have that, I would say the flashlight is pretty good. You shine that in somebody's eyes, they're not coming at you. It's just that simple, unless it's daylight. Those contact tasers on the flashlights, though, that are the hybrids, not at all effective unless you get them in the head, the neck, or something close to their spine, and that's hard to do. Getting that close, boy. But it is a fight stopper. They'll be dazed, but you got to follow it up with either some real fast running or some real fast damage to their critical areas. Because that by itself is not going to knock someone out. Okay, this ain't Hollywood. So another thing I hesitate to say because it should be in your bug out bag, it's we'll just say a larger dental kit. I'm not talking all the, utensils and the pull a tooth, the whole like emergency dental kit. Those are nice though. If you got the money, get one, but let's like hope it doesn't come to that. I'm talking just like a full tube of toothpaste, a little dollar store pack of 5 toothbrushes. They always have them for dirt cheap at CVS. And a couple of things of floss, and do it diligently because when your dental hygiene goes down the toilet after like a week, the rest of your health goes with it. You're not ready for that. It's going to be pain, inflammation. It's going to be harder to eat. You're just going to feel awful. It can cause bacterial issues. I mean, it's like you're not used to that. You've been pampering your body when it comes to your teeth being pretty clean, or at least hopefully you are. You want to keep it that way, especially over the long term where there ain't no dentists. But even in the short term, people are like, I don't need fresh breath. Who cares? I'm just going to tough it out. I'm going to be a man. I smell. You know what? Just if you think that way, throw in some deodorant too. That's your penalty. I'm penalizing you. But I would put in some alcohol-based mouthwash too. It's hard to find these days because a lot of it's just like minty stuff with weird like chemicals that kill the germs instead of straight alcohol. And that stuff's usually like, 18%. Like it's pretty good. But you can use that for basic sanitization if you had to. And then also just keeping your mouth fresh. It'll kill the germs. Okay. Honestly, brushing plus toothpaste, if you just go floss plus mouthwash, it's a little more, germ killy. You do kind of need the fluoride over time though, but then you can clean your teeth with one toothbrush and a tube of toothpaste for like a good portion of a year. So I would definitely throw that in. Would I put it in my bug out bag? No, but I've got like one of those tiny little travel ones of like the folding toothbrush. And a little thing of floss because even over 48 hours, it's that important. So some other just big stuff, a canteen. It would be really nice and really smart and almost insane not to do this, to just have some kind of water carrying thing in your main bug out bag, but another canteen or two just for portable water would be nice in addition to like the folding stuff I said, the handle stuff and the plastic stuff. Because remember, you can get one of those 5-gallon ones, but full of water that's going to be 8 pounds per gallon. That's pretty hefty when you're already tired and cold or hot or yeah. So some other things, mosquito net. I almost don't even care where you live. If there's mosquitoes, do it. It's that simple. Now, they're heavy. They're a couple pounds. They're huge. They fold up nice once. And then if you can get them back in the bag, you are some kind of wizard. But man, you can't even sleep with mosquitoes going around. Like, what are you going to do? Light like 5 fires and hope the smoke is enough and doesn't affect your lungs? It's mosquitoes, very high priority, but like, would I put a mosquito net in my main bug out bag? It's almost not even an option. It wouldn't fit, but it's probably like the first, second, or third item I would put in a secondary bug out bag. Also, a very large sleeping bag, all sleeping bags are pretty large. What are you going to do? Just throw them in, the bigger one. I have mine in my main pack because it gets cold and there just is no sleeping unless, I guess if I already grabbed the winter jacket on the way out, I don't know. I'd just rather have it. But that by itself is several pounds and it's about the size of a backpack. So it's not going in a normal size backpack. You'd even have trouble putting it in like a super large military style one. So some other stuff, glow sticks if you think signaling or, any kind of marking anything or being seen would be important. They're super light. Throw them in, but there's just, it's not critical enough to put in a main bug out bag. So I thought I'd mention it. Also some foldable basic plastic rain ponchos. Those are dirt cheap. Throw them in. It'll just keep you dry. Throw it on. Real simple. A lot of people say no, just use trash bags because you can just kind of armhole. It works pretty well, but your arms will still get wet and you gotta like roll up your sleeves. It's a whole thing. Depending upon where you're at, I would throw in some sunblock. And as far as medication, I'd go painkillers, anti-diarrhea, and just in case, you get some stings, you get exposed to something, fleas, bed bugs, who knows. You're going to start having a reaction. You want to have some really Benadryl. That's pretty much the powerful one. It's going to make you sleepy as heck, so it's probably not a bad idea to throw some like Claritin or Allegra. Those are the name brands, of course. Throw them in, even if you don't have seasonal allergies. Plus a 300 bottle, once daily, 24 hours Zyrtec. You want to talk about a trade item with somebody who needs it. And it weighs basically nothing. Another thing is a flash drive with a backup of, like I said, passwords, addresses, web stuff. Dump the whole bookmark list in your browser. I'm not going to get into how to do that. You can find instructions online pretty easily, or I might make that video eventually. And one of the last things, I'm just going to tell you about it because I already have a video scheduled with this topic, so I don't want to stomp on it too much. But stuff to keep your car running. Don't forget that if you intend to take a car or own a car. If you don't own a car, you're probably in a country where that's just not a thing, or you live in a city, which is a big mistake, and you should probably move. If anything goes down, if you think confidently you can get out of the city safely, and you've got enough self-protection, enough know-how to get where, and you're on the edge of the city, I don't know. Look, you do you, but it's gonna get really rough really quick when people start running out of like water and food. But other than that, the assumption is if you're taking the bigger bag, you've got a car, unless you've got the world's strongest shoulders and a really hefty bike, I guess. Look, I would stick to just the bug out bag in that situation. So yeah, just stuff to keep your car running. Watch for that video in the future. Subscribe if you don't want to miss it. And then a couple other little things. Just a towel. Nice folded up, rolled up towel, just to dry yourself off, dry whatever off, or extra, it's kind of like also a blanket. It's just nice. Yeah, you could drive by a fire. You could just not bathe, but like this is it's nice and I want to keep myself clean to prevent, skin issues, irritation, or just the constant horrible smell. And also, obviously, you could throw a couple bars of soap in there too. If you're going to throw the towel in, you might as well. Just realize what I just said. No pun intended. I'm leaving it in. There's a couple other nice items you could put, depending upon like if it would be dangerous, although, what else is dangerous other than a giant scenario that makes you leave your house for more than 3 days. But if you're thinking, you know what, where I'm at, a fire's not a thing, then a solar oven or some kind of, at least even like a solar fire starter too. They tend to be big, they're reflective, they're dishes, it's a thing. A solar oven's not the smallest thing in the world. But they're really cool and they can cook without a fire, especially if like you're thinking, oh man, I'm going to be in an area where I don't want people smelling stuff, or you got bears, which actually they'll just smell the food, not the fire. Actually, the fire would probably repel them. Why did I just say that? But if you're in an area with bears, bear spray. I'd almost put that in the primary pack. It's big, it's heavy, but you can hook it on the outside. And yeah, there's like the bear foggers and the bear super long range ones, but honestly, my just handheld little one that's in my pocket that I carry every day, that pepper spray can go about 15 to 20 feet. So go outside and test it. And everybody from my other 2 channels is now screaming at the screen. And you know what else you should do after you test it is wash off the front nozzle before showing off in a video, touching it, and then touching your face. You should probably do that after testing it. Let me reiterate. Definitely do that. That was not a fun video, and I couldn't figure out what was going on or why my face was on fire. And no, I'm not going to tell you what my other channels are. It's not that hard to guess if you know me, but there's a 99% chance that you're not interested in the topics on my other, well, it's more than 2 channels, but 2 that I actively upload to. So I like to keep them separate just because if you have disinterested people just go over there and sub and then they never watch any of your content, that actually really damages your channel. But you know what would really help my channel is if you're into this stuff and you made it this far into the video, leave a like and subscribe and check out the rest of my videos. You just click on channel name and then videos. I don't have playlists yet because I'm just kind of all over the place on this channel. Don't really have that many series either. I mean, we got how to heat your house in case of a winter emergency. I got about 5 of those. But hey, while you're messing around with YouTube stuff, leave a comment with what you would add into this extra bug out bag as well. Or since I might do it in the future, I might not, the 3rd tier bug out bag, the luxury, we're not camping, we're glamping bag. I feel like that's too many layers deep and getting away from prepper stuff, but you know what? If you got the gear, you might as well put it all in one place. I'm just saying. So like, we're talking inflatable mattress. We're talking like 30-watt folding solar array. We're talking like the craziest water filters. Maybe some pillows. Why not? I mean, a thick jacket is a pillow if you don't need it and you're not wearing it, but sure, throw in a pillow. Matches. Sure, they're stupid. Throw them in. I don't know. Should I make that video, guys? I'm already kind of parodying it, but I was going to make a video on like, because we've done like prepping on a budget, the $10, the $25 challenge, the like, I rated the dollar store challenge, the thrift store challenge, because, that's how it is, okay? I was going to do a $100 challenge out of my own pocket at a certain online vendor that's pretty good. I'm not going to mention that, but the video wouldn't have been sponsored either. But then I thought that is above some people's budget. It's above my budget right now. I mean, it's the end of the year. It's not a good time. I'm a YouTuber. I owe the IRS a ton of money. But I am curious on your opinion. Should I do stuff like, oh, this would just be nice. This is kind of like a luxury, but not really. Like it's just a nice comfort item. Or this is just a much higher dollar amount item, but while it would be cool. I just feel like it's not genuine and sincere. 2, I'm not big enough to have those kind of sponsors, so I'd have to pay out of pocket or just show them off and not like show off a picture of them, not me using them, which is kind of, that's just a bad look to the type of people that'd be interested. And there's a billion and one other YouTubers already doing high-end gear. So let me know your thoughts on that, or just like I said, what would go in, whether I make the video or not, people could read the comment section, what would go in the 3rd tier bag. It would be nice, and I've still got room in my trunk comfort bag. Hey, AR-15 and 1,000 rounds of ammo, that's going on the list. But there are a couple of items that are like specific to seasons and specific to your area that I wanted to mention. Like if you're in Arizona, it's the summer, you probably don't need bug repellent. But if you live somewhere else, as long as it's not winter, you probably do need mosquito repellent or really any kind of bug repellent. And I did want to remind people that this isn't obviously an extensive list. I did kind of think and take notes for 2 hours, and I'm reading off of those, but it doesn't mean I remembered everything, so you do some thinking on your own about what's relevant to you and your area, but then also don't just think it's too big, it's too heavy. Okay, like it'll be in my bug out bag, but if it's too big or too heavy, it goes in this one. Not necessarily. I would even say like a signaling whistle. I wouldn't put it in my bug out bag. I've heard people say otherwise, but if you know you're meeting up with people or you know you're going in a group and you want to, like in case of emergency, a bear, a situation, a shooting, I don't know, you killed a deer and you want the people to come help you drag it, a big loud whistle. It doesn't weigh much, but I wouldn't put it in my primary bug out bag. Some people would, like I said, if that's their situation. I've heard of people say put it in. For me, even just one more item and one more, ounce of weight, that's just not the item I'm looking for. But I would put it in this bag because, we got all the space and time and everything in the world. So it's like, this is the B list, So in most extensive list videos, I always like to remind people that it's not the end all be all. I did not say this is the absolute everything you need. You need to do a little thinking yourself, but I don't just want to tell you, hey, you might be missing an item. Good luck with that. I like to give people like the knowledge and the starter for the ideas of how to think and how to kind of lead your brain to where you need to go as far as what you need for your situation instead of just leaving you hanging and saying good luck. And that's the way I always do things on this channel, so once again, if you appreciate it, subscribe for more great content. Thanks for watching. Shout out to all my trucker friends and people at the gym, which according to surveys is the people who watch this long-form podcast kind of stuff. And I'll see you guys next video.